Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we talk about the best horror content on Hulu in October 2024. And with that, let's get to the list. The Empty Man is a 2020 supernatural horror movie, written and directed by David Pryor in his directorial debut. It stars James Badge Dale, Marin Ireland, and Stephen Root. On the trail of a missing girl, an ex-cop comes across a secretive group attempting to summon a terrifying supernatural entity.
On the first night, you hear him. And on the second night, you see him.
And on the third night?
Well, on the third night, he finds you.
When this came out, it was completely breezed over. It came out in the heart of the pandemic. I was fortunate enough to see it in a theater, but almost no one got a chance to. It was only in theaters for a very short time before they shut it down. But eventually it found its way over to HBO Max, and that was when Chris Stuckman brought it up, and a lot more attention finally came to this movie. But even still, I think it doesn't get the credit it deserves because it's creepy, unnerving, it looks incredible, it's unique and creative. It's absolutely a fantastic horror movie and one of my favorites from the last few years. So if you've yet to see this, do yourself a favor and make it the next thing that you watch. The Hills Have Eyes is a 2006 horror thriller directed by Alexandra Aja. It's a remake of Wes Craven's 1977 classic and stars Aaron Stanford, Kathleen Quinlan, and Vanessa Shaw. The story follows a family that is targeted by a group of cannibalistic mutants after their car breaks down in the desert. When we talk about remakes, I feel like this one isn't talked about enough because I really do think it's one of the best remakes out there. It's one of the few movies that I've seen in theaters that just left me feeling like I would never be the same. I mean, it scarred me. It was upsetting. It really bothered me because it's mean, it's disturbing, it's uncomfortable, it's gross, it's just brutal and savage. It really is a phenomenal remake and one I think is definitely worth your attention.
Los tiempos de la fe se terminan rápido.
When Evil Lurks is a 2022 Argentine horror movie, written and directed by Demian Rugna. It stars Ezekiel Rodriguez, Louis Ambrosky, and Emilio Vadovic. In a remote village, two brothers find a demon-infected man about to give birth to evil itself. So they try to get rid of the man, but merely succeed in helping him to deliver the inferno. I've talked about this movie many times on the channel. It was my #1 pick from last year. It's just an incredible horror movie, and still I look at it as one of my favorite horror movies from the last probably 10 years. But it is creative, it's so dark, it's shocking, it's uncomfortable. There are so many creative practical effects that are used in this, so many scenes that just left me with my jaw on the floor. It is so dark, so disturbing, and one that definitely sticks with you.
He'll make you do terrible things.
We're very well. You?
Available on October 3rd is a brand new Hulu original called Hold Your Breath. It's a psychological horror thriller directed by Carrie Crows. It stars Sarah Paulson, Amish Miller, and Annalee Ashford. In 1930s Oklahoma, amid the region's horrific dust storms, a woman is convinced that a sinister presence is threatening her family.
I guess you haven't heard about the drifter. Killed the mama and the kids.
Did they ever catch the drifter?
It's like he just melted into the dust.
So I don't know much about this, but I have heard this is one to definitely keep an eye out for, that it's really, really good. And at least from the trailer, it looks like it's a high-produced, well-put-together movie. It looks creepy and eerie, and one that you know I'm gonna be checking out.
I just want it all to be over.
A Banquet is a 2021 horror movie. Directed by Ruth Paxton, it stars Sienna Gollery, Jessica Alexander, and Ruby Stokes. The story's about a widowed mother whose husband and father of her daughters dies from self-harm one night, and one of her daughters has what she believes to be a supernatural experience that results in her refusing to eat.
She's perfect in every way, except for one thing. She never eats.
This is a disturbing, uncomfortable, slow burn, one that's very filled with dread. It's not one that's gonna have a lot of jump scares or things like that. It's one that's just gonna make you feel uncomfortable and feel uneasy. But it's surprising and goes in directions I did not see coming. It has an incredible cast, it's well shot, well directed, and well told.
Help me. Please, help me.
The Fly is a 1986 horror movie, directed and co-written by David Cronenberg. It stars Jeff Goldblum, Gina Davis, and John Getz. The plot focuses on a brilliant yet eccentric scientist who begins to transform into a giant man-fly hybrid after one of his experiments goes horribly wrong.
Something went wrong, Seth. When you went through, something went wrong.
So recently I watched the movie The Substance and was just blown away. It's incredible, but it reminded me of Cronenberg. It reminded me of the body horror movies we got in the 80s. And there was none, in my opinion, that were better than this one. The Fly is just an absolute classic. Even though it's a remake, it's like The Thing, where it goes beyond and is even better than the original. But the body horror in this is so well done. It's gross, it's uncomfortable, and really disturbing. It's just an incredible movie. It has a moving story, it's well acted, well directed, and a movie that if you haven't seen in a while, it's a perfect one to add to your Halloween watch list. Crimes of the Future is a 2022 sci-fi horror movie, written and directed by David Cronenberg. It stars Viggo Mortensen, Leah Seydoux, and Kristen Stewart. The story follows a performance artist duo who perform surgeries for a live audience in a future world where humans no longer experience pain, and surgery is the new sex.
Surgery is sex, isn't it?
Is it?
You know it is.
I thought, since I was talking about The Fly, it would be fun to add another Cronenberg, his most recent. He has a new one that's coming out in the spring of next year, which I'm excited about. I'm always excited to get a new Cronenberg, because even his bad movies are still interesting. And I wouldn't say that this is my favorite Cronenberg, but it is still a really good movie. It has a thought-provoking message, the visuals are phenomenal. It's nice just to see Cronenberg coming back with a body horror movie after so many years, and in my opinion, that element alone makes this a definite must-see.
Forget this.
Fresh is a 2022 dark comedy horror thriller. Directed by Mimi Cave in their directorial debut, it stars Daisy Edgar-Jones and Sebastian Stan. It's about a young woman who starts dating a charming man, only to discover his horrifying secrets, leading her into a fight for her life.
Do you live around here? because I live on aisle 6. That was terrible.
Was kind of terrible.
This was one of my favorite horror movies in 2022, and it's another Hulu original. But it's funny at times, it's creepy, it's definitely unnerving and disturbing. It has body horror, it has gore, it's witty and well written. It's very creative in the way that it's shot and the color choices, just the way that it's edited together. It's a very unique and creative, yet very fun movie. It did get a lot of buzz when it came out, but I still think there's quite a few people that haven't seen this. So if you're one of those, definitely do yourself a favor and check this one out. On October 15th, American Horror Story Season 4 comes out on Hulu. It's an anthology series created by Ryan Murphy and Brad Falchuk. This season is set to star Henry Winkler, Debbie Ryan, Victor Gerber, as well as many others.
There's this woman out here and something is very wrong with her.
I haven't seen all the seasons of this, but I really enjoyed the ones that I have seen. It's like a lot of anthology series though. Some episodes are better than others. It's well produced with a lot of well-known actors involved, as well as directors and writers. It's a good time, so I think it's definitely one to keep on your radar. It Lives Inside is a 2023 supernatural horror movie. Written and directed by Vishal Duda, it stars Megan Suri, Niru Bajwa, and Mohana Krishnan. An Indian-American teenager struggling with her cultural identity has a falling out with her former best friend, and in the process unwittingly releases a demonic entity that grows stronger by feeding on her loneliness.
There's something in here. You can't see it. But it lives inside.
This is one that really flew under the radar. I've heard no one talk about it, and I think it's a real shame because it deals with some really interesting topics, goes about it in a unique way. Anytime a horror movie talks about and deals with entities and legends and lore and stuff from other cultures, I always am a fan of that because it just breathes fresh life into things that normally would just be vanilla and basic. And so the look and style, the rules, the way all this unfolds in this have a fresh feel to them. It's also really well performed. The cast is fantastic in this, and it has a couple really disturbing, impactful scenes in it. But it is a smaller movie, so keep your expectations in check. But if you haven't seen this one, I think it's worth giving a look. The Offering is a 2022 supernatural horror movie, directed by Oliver Park and based on Jewish folktale of Abazu. It stars Nick Blood, Emily Wiseman, and Alan Cordunner. A family struggling with loss find themselves at the mercy of an ancient demon trying to destroy them from the inside out.
I may have found something.
It's on the knife.
It's an ancient voiding inscription, often to seal a body containing a demon.
This is another one that has that foreign feel because it's based on a Jewish folktale about Abazu. And so the look, the rules, things like that are just unique in it. But it's really well shot, it's well directed, it has a fantastic mood and atmosphere. The way it's edited together, it just has a really creepy way about it. It's another one that really flew under the radar. It was on my list of top movies from last year though. That's how much I love this movie. So if you're looking for something that's creepy, full of atmosphere, this is a fantastic pick.
You get out there, Mr. Midnight, and you knock him dead.
Also being added to Hulu on October 19th is Late Night with the Devil. It's a 2024 supernatural horror movie, written, directed, and edited by Colin and Cameron Carnes. It stars David Dastmalchian, Laura Gordon, and Ian Bliss. A live television broadcast in 1977 goes horribly wrong, unleashing evil into the nation's living rooms.
Please welcome Dr. June Ross Mitchell and Lily, the young subject of the book, Conversations with the Devil.
I've talked about this before on the channel because it has been available on Shudder. But I'm hoping now that it gets a release on Hulu, it'll get even more buzz, especially for the Halloween season, because this movie is just dripping in Halloween goodness. It's really a good time. It's not super scary, but it is creepy. It does have its spooky, supernatural, demonic kind of elements to it. David Dastmalchian is amazing in it. It's just, like I said, a fun, entertaining kind of movie, but definitely a movie that if you haven't seen yet is perfect for Halloween.
The midnight sun will rise. And you will see his glory.
Lords of Misrule is a 2023 folk horror movie. Directed by William Brent Bell, it stars Tuppence Middleton, Ralph Ineson, and Evie Templeton. During a local celebration, the daughter of the town's new minister goes missing, leading to the revelation of dark secrets.
But he stands in the fields and waits.
Who stands in the fields and waits?
Grace.
This movie is awesome and really deserves more attention, especially if you're a fan of folk horror, because there just isn't enough really good folk horror out there. Stuff that deals with pagan, cult, witchy, evil, demonic stuff like that. There just isn't enough of it. And it's a real shame because I think it's one of the more creepy and fun subgenres in horror. But Ralph Ineson is amazing in this. The whole cast is, but I just love this guy. He just was amazing in The Witch, and his voice and just his presence, he's just perfect for horror. But this has a great look about it. It's stylish and moody and goes in some interesting directions and goes a lot more hard than I expected it to. So if you haven't seen this one, it's one that I highly recommend. What You Wish For is a horror thriller written and directed by Nicholas Tomney. It stars Nick Stahl, Thompson Topolsky, and Randy Vasquez. A down-on-his-luck chef with gambling problems flees to a South American villa where he assumes the identity of another man. This is not a perfect movie by any means. It is a fairly low-budget film, but I think it's surprisingly fun. It's a lot more quirky and weird than I expected, especially because the way it sets it up, but it gets darker and more disturbing as it goes, but there's a sense of humor about the whole thing as well. It's twisted and keeps you on the edge of your seat as you're just trying to figure out what's gonna happen next. But I think this is a really entertaining movie that nobody's talking about and one you should absolutely check out.
I was the most handsome man in our village.
His village was very badly affected by leprosy and the plague.
That's true.
And to wrap up this list, coming out on October 22nd is What We Do in the Shadows Season 6. And it's actually going to be the final season of What We Do in the Shadows, which just bums me out because it's one of my favorite shows. I don't watch a lot of series because it's so time consuming, but this is one I've definitely made time for. It's just so funny. It's just a great time, but it's also oozing in Halloween and horror vibes. It's not scary. It's definitely a comedy series, but it still has that aesthetic. It still has horror in everything it does. But the entire cast is phenomenal. They're just absolutely hilarious in this. But I just think it's an absolute blast and a perfect pick for this Saturday night. So do yourself a favor this Halloween season. Pick one of the movies off of this list. Grab your popcorn and your candy and enjoy. And I want to give a huge, massive, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate crew, to you guys over on Patreon, and to the channel members over here. You guys mean so much to me. And if you would like to help support this channel over on Patreon, there's a link down in the description. or you can become a channel member by clicking on that join button down there and help support the channel that way. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button, and remember guys, horror can be fun. And if you enjoyed this, click right here to watch me talk about all of the best horror content coming to Netflix in October 2024. And I'll see you guys next time.